You are muted.
Ah, good evening, Ashok.
Hello, Malar. How are you?
Hello
And I
from
was dancing away to that
Malaysia.
music. Where did you pick that piece from? It's
I
very
have,
nice.
I have to. Was it Kirtana or Shamini decided on it? And yeah, so one of them. I didn't
Hmm.
pick. I would have picked some Indian beat. So I was banned from choosing the music,
All
and
right, all right, all right. It's okay.
so
We still can dance.
yes, we can still can dance. Hi, Sandeep. Thank you for joining us. Sandeep is joining us all the way from India.
Hi,
Thanks for
Sandeep.
joining. Yeah, yeah. So how are you, Ashok?
I well, it's been okay. It's been fun. It's been fun. It's been fun. It's been busy and fun in their own ways, but yeah, I can't complain this week. It's been all. I mean, every time is learning, but it's been fun. Yeah, quite
Nice,
relaxed.
nice,
Mm.
nice.
And yourself?
Oh, good. Actually, been busy. Busy. I'm trying to tick my so-called year-end bucket list. Finish the
Hmm.
unfinished. That's more like
Year
it. Not
end.
so much. Yeah, yeah. My year-end bucket list. I had a friend who posted something, and she said, have you met your goal for the year? And then I decided, you know what? I'm not going to do like goals, but I want to look at what are the things unfinished business, and I'm going to tick them. So that's what I'm doing, ticking my unfinished business, and then take a break and welcome Shamini back. So Ashok,
Ah,
this is the first month you're joining us for the summary, right?
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
And I must. Yes. Sorry, I disrupted you. I'm just too excited.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Um.
for this,
Okay. Yes. Okay. Ladies first.
no, I wanted to say Sandeep has just joined us. For those who have joined us on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube, who are at the background, this is our last week. And what we do in the last week is that, we summarize and try and connect the dots and try and have conversation around the theme for this month, which is talent retention. Okay, good. Ashok, to you.
Okay, I'm just getting too excited here. Uh, okay, before we, I mean, I know we're already in the show, but before I kick off my views and all, I'd like to thank you and Shamni for getting me involved in the show because I must say it has been fun. And most importantly, it's been very insightful from what we have picked up from all the different guests and all. So I wanted to thank you for it. I know next week I'm around. Then after that, Sham comes back. I was going to say take over, but she comes back, and then she comes back. Yeah, but I wanted to thank you and Sham for this. It's been really fun. I've enjoyed
You're
this.
most welcome. It's been a pleasure having you in the team. And after having you in the team, I'm thinking we need to expand the team and find another representative for Malaysia. Because
Okay.
I think that yeah. Because when you join Sham and I mean we have a particular personality that comes together. We learn a lot from this show. And I think when you came on board, you've stretched us in spaces that we're not usually stretched. So it's been a pleasure and a privilege having you. I look forward to every conversation. But today we better get on show just in
Okay.
case Shamini is spying us from
Okay. Okay.
India,
No worry. No worry.
checking in
Okay.
whether we're doing a good
I
job.
got it. I got it. Now, this is related to retention and all. As I was preparing for today's show. One question did come into my mind, which I need to throw it to you, right? Which is part of this whole show. What was your inspiration behind putting this show together? Leadership and flow.
Besides the fact that I like to be on screen, besides that vanity, I
Okay.
think Shamini and I, run a show on Fridays, and that's very much focused on individuals and raising self awareness in the community, right?
Okay. Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but I think Shamini and I decided, we needed to do something for leaders because we have an assessment tool called Flow
Mhm.
Profiler, and one of the major shifts that has happened for both Shamini and I, but I'll speak for myself today, is that we are looking at, how do we be our best selves
Mm.
without killing ourselves in the process, and that's called the flow state, right? And if you look at, especially now, right, there's always been a lot of pressure on leaders.
Mm,
we read articles that keeps telling us how leaders are still not good enough,
mm,
right? And so now post pandemic, even in the talent retention space or talent acquisition space that we've been talking about, if you look at articles, if you look at data, it's all about what leaders need to do,
mm.
what employees want, and what leaders need to deliver. And I think that we don't empathize with leaders, we don't
Yeah.
realize how much they are probably killing themselves in the process. Now, then the bias for me is, you see, the leaders who are good, and when I say good, I'm talking about the good people, right? Right, very focused on people. I find that these are the leaders who suffer more because they want to do more, right?
Okay.
They want to do more, they want to be more for their employees in whatever they do, right? And this show is really bringing practitioners, the quiet ones, to actually look at how they think, what the real challenges are, and how they are managing it. So two things: one is we want to really reach out and appreciate good leadership who are
Hmm.
quiet, right, at the background, right? And also bring their thinking out here to say, these are real issues, these are things that we are managing. I think those were two motivation, personal motivation for me to say, we got to have conversations around leadership, but let's be kind to leaders, let's appreciate what they are doing so that we can get more leaders to be in flow states, right? We don't want leadership to be a scary place. And I think right now it's quite a scary space.
Okay, I like that. So it was basically what I'm hearing is to appreciate the good leaders, to be kind
Mm,
to the leaders, and to be our best self in that sense.
sure.
Right? And these conversations are to help the leaders. Yeah. Now,
Mm,
I'm just curious also, right? Okay, in my mind, the way when I look at the organizational structure, I've always had three tiers when I propose any solutions and all. There are leaders, there are managers, and then there are individual contributors. Just simplifying it. So, when you say leaders, does your managers also fall under the leaders? It does. Huh?
yes.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
okay. Great, great. Because
Because the way we differentiate leaders and managers is that managers tend to do a lot more operational stuff, but they
yeah,
still need to do
yeah,
some parts of leading, right?
that's
And
right.
yeah, and whether you're a manager or a leader, as long as people are reporting to you, you're a
Hmm.
leader, right?
Okay, got it. Got
Yeah,
it.
and so yeah, it's both. Without going into
Yeah.
technical.
No, no, it's important, because sometimes I feel that the managers, right, they are in the brunt of a lot of things that they need to do because they've got leaders to report to and they've got individual contributors to lead and inspire and operationalize, So it's
Mhm.
they also need to be appreciated and looked after. I've
Yeah,
got a
they
soft spot
all
for them. Yeah.
yeah it Ashok, like when we talk about individual contributors or employees, right? If you just imagine as an individual contributor, or whatever statistics that shows out of employee expectation, right? Let's assume they're all individual contributors for a while, right? Now, can you imagine the number of expectations they have of organizations?
Yeah.
And all of this falls on the shoulders of whoever is in a managerial or leadership position or supervisory position, right? Now, and that's a lot. And whether we like it or not, what we don't talk about is that if you look at the job description of leaders, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, there is so much of expectation of managing people, inspiring people, coaching people for performance. But if
That's
you
right.
look at the remuneration system, if you look at the KPIs, if you look at how they are being appreciated for their performance, they are on the box that organizations are ticking is only results,
Mm,
right? If you look,
that's right.
if you take 8 to 10 hours a day, if you look at any leader's, time diary, right?
Hmm.
Not 100%, 120% goes in just ticking the box on the list to do things.
Right, right.
Where do then leaders and managers find the time to do the inspiring and the coaching and the listening and the understanding and the well-being? Oh my goodness. And yet they get punished for not being able to do that, right? So
Yeah.
I think we're really looking at, for me, very unfair system to the good
Okay.
leaders, because the good leaders are the one who aspire to manage people better.
Okay.
So okay,
And
like that
and
was
it
a
makes
bit
no no
emotional. Yeah.
no, it's okay. It's okay. I love this because it gives a very good context to the talent retention that we focused on in for the month of October. So
Mm-hmm.
I like that you've gone given a context and went deeper into with your own belief. It's very 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 important. You know. Thank you again. You know for putting this show together. There are a lot of people who are benefiting from it. Yes. Let's go.
Let's go. Where shall we go? Today I got excited because another friend has joined me after a long time. Hi, Louis Marias. Thank you for joining us. Louis is, a friend, and he also runs a very successful recruitment organization in KL. So when you come to KL, Ashok, we'll have coffee. Sandeep has actually said the world has become so much complex that it's hard to find true visionary leaders amongst working
Working
leaders.
leaders. Nice. I like that distinction: visionary leaders and working leaders. And it's true, Sandeep. I mean, in this current climate, things are complex, complicated in its own ways, right? And I think a lot of people are going through their own flux, and I think soon we'll find out the true leaders emerging also. But it's going to take a bit of time. Thanks a lot for that, Sandeep.
Yep.
Okay.
And yeah. So moving on, Ashok, I thought it would be nice if we, for people who have joined us, especially on LinkedIn,
Hmm.
it would be very nice to actually talk about the summary, what we've covered so far
Okay.
for the month of, I was going to
October.
go October. No, 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 we're in September.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
September.
yeah,
God,
yeah, we're in
I'm so
September.
excited. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's do a quick summary. And
Okay.
since this is your first month of summary, share with us, for those who probably didn't have a chance to join all the four speakers this month, what were some of your own takeaways with our, amazing four speakers?
Okay. All right. Okay. So this is listening to the four speakers and interviewing part of the show for three. uh, I noticed there were three emerging factors that are crucial to talent retention that came out. Number one, right? If all the speakers did speak in one form or the other, that recognize well-being is important for everyone, be it the individual contributors or leaders. Recognize that well-being is very important. It's very crucial, right? The other one that emerged from the speakers was focus on leadership development in human relational skills. Yeah. The third one that came out was about designing meaningful conversations and interactions. So these are the three factors that I saw coming up from all the speakers, which are crucial to talent retention. Recognize well-being, focus on leadership development, and design meaningful conversations and interactions. Right. So when Ian came on about, he was helping us bridge talent acquisition, which was in August, to retention, and he anchored with the cost of recruitment. See, it is expensive, to recruit very good talents, and it'll be a sad thing that if we could lose them. So a couple of things that he had helped us understand, not only for the new guys, earlier the earlier slide, Malar, we still with Ian. What he helped us, it's okay. What Ian helped us understand was perhaps a we need to start doing onboarding again, not only for the new people but
Mhm.
for everyone, because we have gone through this whole COVID period, 2.5 years to three, right? Perhaps it's time for us to do onboarding again based on the COVID situation. Then he talked about the approach. He said, yes, we need to strategize, systemize, and deputize. He spoke about that. And he emphasized that when you deputize, it has to be more from the human point of view, right? and and he kept alluding to the fact that we need skills to hold meaningful conversations. So this is what I took out from Yearn's sharing, and one of the biggest thing I took out was, hey, you know what, maybe we still have to go do onboarding again for talent retention for everyone. And I think that was a very good thing that he spoke about, right?
Mm.
So that's what I took up from Yearn. Yeah.
Can I
Now,
add to that
sure,
before you?
please.
Are you going to Bana yet?
No, yeah, I'm going to go to Badai. You can jump in.
Okay, so what you got me thinking is, when you talk about, or when Ian spoke about onboarding everybody, right? Because I think the assumption is post pandemic we are still transitioning, right,
Yep.
to whatever we call the new normal. I'm not sure whether we have settled in the new normal, right? And when employees actually started working from home, we were all coping.
Hmm.
Just we haven't thrived. I think everybody just basically kicked and see how we could all survive in the situation,
Yep.
in whatever role that we played, right? And in that process, it's almost like you started working on your own, being enterprising on your own, right? Or being this freelancer who gets a monthly salary sort of a thing, because you needed to figure out how to get the outcomes out. So this is where I
Mm.
think real entrepreneurship mindset and skills actually kicked in, right, for people. And we've enjoyed kind of a responsibility that comes with the freedom. So, we had responsibilities to deliver with minimum support, minimum, supervision, yet we delivered the results. And, what we hear of working from home is that the results got better, productivity got better. So, results
Okay.
got better, outcomes got better. So, and now when we are asking people to either come back or figure out what is the new norm that we need to work on, and we
Hmm.
know businesses have suffered, right? What we're not thinking about is a need to onboard them, because in
Yep.
2.5 years, we all have changed,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
And we are not sure what we are connecting to, what we are disconnecting from when the organization is concerned, which is
Yes.
why Ian's idea of both onboarding for everyone, let's get everybody on the same page, and the skills to actually have meaningful conversation.
Yes.
Because I think we also know from statistics that during this period, where we all coped on our own, our shifts, there are many shifts has happened for us in terms of meaning. People are
Hmm.
searching more for meaning than ever before, so
Hmm.
that keeps coming up. And for us to really reconnect and re-engage with people, we need to learn how to have meaningful conversation if we have not had them before. So I just
Yep.
wanted to add that, Ashok.
All right. Thank you. Yes. Hmm. I like what you've just said, because we all have changed here. We have all going through a lot of shifts, and still we can. I would think if there's one thing that a lot of organizations can do really is, even at teams level, is start doing an onboarding conversation exercise.
Mm,
Yeah, it'll be good to kick off 2023.
mm, mm,
Right.
mm, mm.
Okay. So Badai, hmm, power pack practitioner, so energetic, a lot of things she shared, and if there was one takeaway, I noticed a central thing about her was well-being, 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 and she hammered that home. And she talked about recognize the importance of well-being, right?
Mhm.
And she really talked about it. She said very specifically, well-being is a top-down, deliberate priority. Is a top-down, deliberate priority. And she really emphasized the importance of that, right? And the third thing again also she talked about was leadership skills. And interesting, it was also around conversations, listening, self-awareness. So this is what I got away from Badai. She said, she talked about the importance of well-being, right? Focus on well-being if you want to retain your talents. And let's say well-being is across the board for leaders and individual contributors, and it is definitely a top-down, deliberate priority. And it's also about the leaders having those skills, right, to be able to converse, listen, and be self-aware. That's what I got. So, what did you get, ma'am?
Oh, I was so blown away by her energy. And,
Mm.
and when we even first started, despite the echo and the technical issues that we are having,
Oh
the
yeah,
fact that the
that's
fact
the
that
one. Yeah.
she actually started off with outcome but not process, I think was
Mm.
amazing.
Yes.
Because what she's basically saying is that if for us to retain talent is really what it's just the result of how we've been treating people. That's what I
Could you
got.
repeat
How
that
we
again?
treat it. The results, that means the ability to retain or not retain, is an outcome.
Outcome. Yes,
And that outcome is actually the result of how we've been treating people.
that's right. It's
That's
all
what
about
I.
how.
Yeah. So
Nice.
while we are focused on how to retain, I think
Mm.
one of the and the very important question is, how are we treating people? And like what you said, right? How are we treating people in terms of the conversations that we need to have? Are we really listening to our people and what they want?
Hmm.
When we talk about well-being, do we really understand what well-being means to people? Because we tend to summarize it as work-life balance, as 8 to 10 hours of work, or as to working from home. But it's so diverse in needs, right? Because it
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
depends where people are at this moment,
Yep.
right? And that's why listening would actually be key. And the other thing that I absolutely loved about Badai is her thoughts on quiet quitting.
Okay, 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 okay. Okay, I tell you what, tell you
I'm
what, tell
not
you what.
going there, but I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah. Not yet, not yet. Because that was something I was going to throw at you later. Because I know you got very passionate views on this. So after we do the summary, I definitely want to hear your views, and I know the listeners are going to enjoy your views,
Oh
right?
no.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So you're gonna hold your thoughts on that, but I definitely will want to get into that.
Sure. Before you get to my dearest Václav, I'm just going to read Luis Marias has put in, a very long comment, which I think is, thank you, Luis. He says, in my experience, talent retention depends a lot on how we induct our people into organization. Definitely. We spoke about orientation and, onboarding. I have witnessed my organization that took enough time to induct them into the system that was much better. Stickness versus when induction became just a ceremony.
Ceremony.
This induction is instilling organization culture, understanding the incomers, doing a lot of matchmaking. Wow. Between the individual and the organization. I like the matchmaking, Lewis. What
Mhm.
we notice is those who went through a longer induction stayed
Session.
longer.
Longer.
Oh, nice. Nice one. And he says, indeed, talent retention is a whole is dependent on the leaders. Today, leaders are facilitators, and that makes a difference. Wow, thank you, Luis. I think you summarized the importance of the onboarding process, because I
Yes.
think a lot of times we cut short on the onboarding process and automate it. In fact,
Mhm.
a lot of companies have made onboarding a virtual self-help process. So thank you for shouting out loud, because onboarding probably has need to be, I think we need to probably move away from being efficient about onboarding and ask if our efficiency is actually effective in onboarding people, so that there's a stick on factor, like what Louis says. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Ashok. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Louise. In fact, your last statement you said was indeed talent retention is a whole dependent on the leaders. And that is exactly what Václav alluded to, our third speaker, Václav, right? Yes, I know he ended up with a power statement. He said, be brave, be authentic, and be human. Right? And he did mention about the importance of onboarding not just being the domain of HR, but really within the domain of the leaders also. Because you are the ones who are leading the team, right? In that sense. And he spoke up a couple of things. Number one, Václav, as you can see from the picture, ladies and gentlemen, he's still very thoughtful. And that's exactly how he came across. He's very insightful. He's got a very deep thoughts about his views, and I like that. I really enjoyed that energy that he brought in from a deeper point of view. He is a renowned practitioner who has won a lot of awards, and he said something. He said, "You know what? We've got to learn from the past." Right? Even with this COVID that we're going through, he said we have to learn from this and we have to focus on the importance of human values. So he spoke about the importance of learning from the past and focusing on human values. He too spoke about skills, and his skills again. He said it's leadership, human relational skills, right? And he also shared something very important to me, which was like, He said personal development is sometimes even more important than professional development. About about being self-aware, understanding your own level of emotions. And I think that is so important. I mean, that comes from a very deep, intelligent, insightful man. Boss love. Yes.
Nice. Ashok, I've got a question for you. In fact, I had a conversation with a client today, so I'm going to throw that question to you.
No, today I don't answer questions.
Yeah, well, you can agree or disagree. Okay, too late. If you think about, you know how we tend to differentiate personal development and professional development. Okay, without going too much into technical definition, right? Think about it, right? If we have two choices, when we develop someone personally, when you grow as a person, will you become a better professional?
Your question is, when you develop personally?
As a person, would you contribute to your profession?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If if you just grow at a professional level, i.e., competency level,
Mm.
does that mean that you also grow as a person?
You will grow. You will still grow. You'll still grow. Now, then I ask my colleagues, the question is, what be the impact as you grow? Is it to yourself, to the community, to the team that you are with? What is the level of impact? So, what is your depth and breadth of your impact is what I look at as you grow. Let
Mm,
me share with you a story in this, all right? Um, I was talking to an ex-CEO that I know, right?
mhm,
We were all having a group dinner, and also I was just seated on her right hand side, yeah, I believe. Okay, so she's got her first professional degree, right? She got was an architectural degree,
mhm,
all right. Her second one was an MBA,
mm,
okay, and she's been a CEO of a international enterprise, and she's done extremely well. Okay.
mm,
So she's almost retired in that sense. Okay. She's not in that role at the moment. And in the last year or so, just about, it was, yeah, 2020, 2021, around that period, she decided to pursue another degree, right? Yes, about a master's in uh, social, around social work, you know?
mm.
So master's in social work. And she's made a statement. She said, you know what? I wish I had done this degree first before the other two degrees. So I was curious. I said, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is a woman with loads of experience, have done extremely well, right?
Mm,
So, counseling. She did a degree in master's in counseling. Sorry, counseling, not
mm.
social works, counseling, right? And I said, whoa, why do you give more attention to this? She said, I believe I would have been able to make better impact with the people. That means I would have been able to help know them even deeper at an empathetic level. I could have helped them develop beyond their potential. Yes, I got results done. With my professional degrees, I managed to, yes, get the results, no problem. But my people, I could have even helped them even more. So yes, I do agree that personal development, right, helps you elevate as a being to a next level. You will
Nice.
grow.
Oh, I love the story. And off the screen record later, you need to make sure that you introduce this leader, and I think we should interview her because I work with a client who is HR head, and he is doing a master's in counseling, right?
Right.
Almost at yeah, retirement age. So
Mm.
I think what I take away from that story, and it's very inspiring. Thanks for sharing. Is that we tend to think that I think we've spent a lot of years trying to be professional without growth as a person, and I think
Yep.
it's showing up today in the type of issues that we're having, including mental health issues,
Sure.
right? Because we don't know one how to deal with it, but as individuals we also have issues coping because
Sure.
we don't have skills around life skills in that sense.
Agreed. I
It's so
totally
interesting
agree.
of a story. I love it.
Yeah, there's something that we need to discuss again. Also, I hope, hopefully, it goes into October's topic, because I know it is showing up. My bigger question is: A, are people aware? B, do they know how to handle it? I guess this is a topic for October, but this is the question that I have following up to that.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
nice, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
So,
I,
do you have
I
anything? Sorry.
Yeah, I just think that we are yet to get into the crux of the real conversation because I think
Hmm.
there's a lot of data emerging. So what
Yeah.
I see is that the trend is often we look at symptoms, we look at outcomes, and we look
Mm,
at them as the challenges that leaders need to resolve, right? But
mm.
very often, I think we are trying to solve issues at a behavioral level. We
That's
want
right.
people to behave in a particular way, and that's
Okay.
very, I would say, controlling, right?
Okay.
We know in today's management, right? If you want to lead, controlling does not work. It doesn't even work at home with our kids, right?
Hmm.
So we know that. But if you think about it, all we're trying to do in a lot of the articles that we read, we're looking at behaviors as challenging behaviors. What are
Hmm.
challenging behaviors? Behaviors that don't add value to productivity,
Mm,
right?
mm,
That's and we want to resolve those behaviors. We want to shift those behaviors. Now, why? Is it because we care? No, because our productivity is suffering. It's
mm,
still a business centric conversation,
mm, mm,
right?
mm.
Which means that what we put out as intention to be people centric, I'm not too sure whether we are purposeful and sincere about that because we're
Sure.
still doing things and we're not, and I'm not implying business results are not important, right? But
Yep. Yep. Yes, it
again,
is. Mhm.
we are probably, just thinking at that top layer
Sure.
and think we can resolve. We were just managing symptoms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I wish September had more weeks. We can have more discussion. Uh, uh, okay. Oops, it's
Okay,
already
let's do
6:30, and because I
let me
really want to
just
get into quiet quitting, because this behavior questions are also important discussions to have, and I guess we can have that in October. We can actually tackle behavioral issues with the leaders who are coming in October. Do you have anything to add with Vaslav? If not, I can just move on to
no.
Avinash, the last man who anchored September for us, and he had a different view coming from an external party because he's been in the space of recruitment
Mhm.
where he's looked at candidates and he also looked at hiring managers. So from that space, right, he told us very important things. For example, he said it's all about the relationships. Relationship matters, right? And he kept emphasizing the importance of trust in all in relation to talent retention, right?
Mhm.
He also talked about developing leadership soft skills,
Mm.
and he ended up with a very interesting statement. There's a scarcity of talent and soft skills. So I think a lot of articles out there talking about there's a shortage of manpower and skills, but I think they're referring to the hard skills. But he said there's a scarcity of talent and soft skills, and that's what Avinash shared. And this is my takeaway from that. Very important in talent retention. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm laughing here because if you look at trends, right? If you
Hmm.
looked at pre-pandemic, if you look at the skills that were showing up, I remember 2020, right? One of the top skills was emotional intelligence,
Okay.
right? On one hand, but a lot of budget went into digitalization and IT related training, right? So, and I think what happens is that we keep falling into the trap of one without the other.
Okay.
All right. And soft skills, whatever soft skills fall under, for me, soft skills fall a lot under personal development, is really an undermined skill because I think in this part of the world, we assume everybody has it. And I think what COVID did is that COVID put everybody under a lot of pressure to show up as they are under pressure, right?
Yep.
Because we all didn't feel safe. And
Mm.
what's showing up today, not just the mental health numbers have gone up, and it's going up. We have great resignation because people are looking for meaning and they're looking at things differently. And we have quiet quitting where people are quitting the rat race and say, I'm going to take control of how my life is going to be. So a lot of these are actually happening, which is why we now need to talk people, we need to influence people, we need to inspire people, and these are all very deep set of soft skills. And this
Okay.
is assuming we have, some soft skills already. Yes.
Okay. Since you're already on this on soft skills and quiet quitting, let's really get into that before I go into the statistics, right? But let me just acknowledge Sandeep. He says MBA brings results out of people. Masters in coaching brings choices in people to get results.
Whoa.
Power.
Whoa.
Thank you very much for that, Sandeep. Right. Okay.
Oh, I
So
love this.
very good, isn't it? Maybe we should put that up on LinkedIn and
Whoa.
link it back to Sandeep. Uh, Christian Muller, your thoughts on quiet quitting?
Okay, sorry, I'm so engrossed with Sandeep.
I
I
know, I
need to
know, I know.
find like I'm trying to just
To just
settle in.
digest it in, right?
Yeah, digest what you're saying. Okay, Sandeep, I'm going to spend a bit more time thinking through this because this is so deep. Thank you. Okay, what's your question now? My brains need to
All
work.
right, all right. Because Badai is the first one who talked about quiet quitting, and she said, the real issue with quiet quitting is the word quiet.
Hmm.
And she went deeper into it, and I could see you brighten up, and you had your views on it. So share what are your views, right, and your takeaways.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, thank you for the space because I just feel that we're not having real good conversations about quiet quitting, but I see the conversation is changing, right? I think the first part is really when we think about quiet quitting, what is quiet quitting? Because there are two schools of thought with quiet quitting. Because if you remember Václav, right, he wasn't too happy about quiet quitting. He and Badai had probably somewhat opposites, right? But let's just define what is quiet quitting, right? Quiet quitting is really people saying, I will deliver on the job. Whatever's required of me, I will deliver. I won't do less, I won't do more, right? And the question is, what's wrong with
Hmm.
it, right?
Yep.
And yeah, so what's wrong with that? Because you get paid and you do what you get paid for. And we've always had quiet quitters in the system, haven't we?
Yep.
We've always had this 9 to 6 people or 9 to 5 people whom you couldn't put under PIP and couldn't say, penalize them and get rid of them because they were performers. So let's remember something, right? They're giving you what the job requires and they are performing because if they were not performing, we would have got them out of the system. And I'm talking about in the past. There were quiet quitters already.
Sure.
Now, what has shifted is that the number of quiet quitters have increased tremendously. Now, what
Okay.
does that mean in terms of employee behavior? It means that in the past, people who walked the extra mile, who were okay to walk the extra mile, the ones who were okay to do the extra, maybe as a carrot and stick type of motivation, you do more, you get promotion fast, you get growth, you get this, you get that. There was always this carrot about quick growth in career development, right? That we kept putting up for them, right? Now, some of these people have converted and they're just saying, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I am just going to give you whatever I can at work. So I think what we're not looking at is number one, I think we're not looking at quiet quitting as is. That means what is really wrong if people gave what they committed to. I think that conversation we're not having. Number two, we didn't get to quiet quitting overnight.
Mm.
I
Agreed.
think this is the conversation. I will echo Badai to say this is quiet quitting is the outcome. And we need to look at the process where people decided to rework their priorities and their values.
Mm.
Okay? Because the numbers of quiet quitters have increased because some of them who were willing to do more, who were willing to do the extra mile, are now not willing. So we
Okay.
need to check in to see what actually got them here. Because in the past, we didn't worry.
Okay.
Now we are worrying. Now, why are we worrying? Because it's impacting our results. Because now I cannot do my motivational programs, get people excited, and make them put the extra hours for the organization, which means my productivity will suffer, right? So I think it's important to look at the process. Why did people get here in the first place? And are we doing things to address these issues that's close to people's heart that has got them to reprioritize their values? And do we actually systemically need to shift some things? If people are saying, I want a better quality life, is there anything wrong with that? Because we do know that in Malaysia and Singapore, we actually slave around our jobs. There's enough stats to say that we work very, very long hours, right? So that stats has been there for the last couple of years and we haven't done anything about it, right? So I think those are some conversations that we're not having. The other conversation that we are also not having is, you know, how are we actually looking at people? I like people who are objective leaders or objective who say, I have people who people who are high performance, and high potential. High performance is people who get optimum results, but they're not talent. They're not considered talent. High potential are people who are talented. Yeah, and so we are also differentiating the top 20 and the 60 and the bottom 20, right?
Mhm.
And then the question is, really, is that how we deal with people now? So if you're looking at people who are doing the same thing over and over again, who may be doing who may be fitting their whole self is fitting into a job description that they don't enjoy, but they can keep themselves motivated to deliver what they promise. What are we doing differently about, helping people to bring their hearts to work, helping people to be engaged, helping the job description to be something that brings out talent in everybody? Looking at the whole recruitment space differently. So there's a lot of things that I feel.
Okay, no, I totally hear you. I totally agree with you. Okay,
Mm-hmm,
and I think one of the most important thing that you brought up is the fact that quiet quitting did not happen overnight. Okay, yes, Sandeep. Employees weigh fully balanced life more than extra bit of work. Sandeep and Malar, I totally agree with both of you. I just have another view. I would say another view. I have a concern, actually. I have a concern, right? Because the right questions are not being asked, and the conversations are not deepening to understand what quiet quitting is all about. People are jumping into conclusions of what
mm,
quiet quitting is,
mm,
right? And my feel and my conversations with business owners on the ground tells me different things. For example, when I speak to SME owners, right,
mm-hmm,
they look at me and say, you know what, if my bottom line is being threatened, right,
mm,
I have to look for solutions, right? Because if you look at it from an SME owner, right, yes, they they really focus a lot on their protecting their profit margins, their bottom lines, right? So if my bottom line is threatened, I will outsource my threats. For example, I've even had business owners here telling me, you know what? Yeah, if my local workforce is giving me problem, maybe I should get from overseas. And you know what? Since everybody's into work from home, they can work from home over in their country. You know. So what happens is they don't give enough due consideration for why this is happening. They're looking for quick solutions. All right. So there's an SME level, right? Which probably makes up, I know in Singapore, probably in also Malaysia, maybe about 70% of the workforce that are employed belongs to the SME sector. All right. Then let's look at the MNC side. Look at the MNC side. Now, again, if these conversations are not deeply held, one of the things that organizations could look into as a solution, because it's a blaming thing, right? Because it's very binary thinking. Oh, quiet quitting because the employees do not want to give the extra. So it's a blaming way of looking at things. So what they then might be forced to look into is, okay, can we have a flatter, leaner organization and maybe more agile structures? Nothing wrong with that. But the reason they are going in there is because they have a different viewpoint about quiet quitting.
Mm,
because you still can have a leaner organization with agile structures, but if you understand the issues around employee expectations, because exactly like what you said, quiet quitting did not happen today. In fact, the great resignation did not happen in 2020.
mm,
It is all a culmination of past. It just boiled, and spilled over. The hot water was already boiling, The
mm.
water was already there. The water is just boiling. And 2020, it just it just had a spill out. Yes, people may have labels around it, maybe may have opinions, but I think it's extremely important to have deeper conversations about this. And Mala, maybe I might throw it to you and Sham, from a leadership in flow point of view, right? Perhaps we could have a one-off conversations about quiet quitting, and maybe in October, November, I don't know, right? Maybe we can bring in different leaders and have a panel discussion, online
Yeah,
also. It could be an idea, because I think it's important for us to have a deeper conversation about this. And as humanity evolves and as a community, how we can help each other.
nice. I shall send it to Miss Shamini when she comes back for approval, Mr. Ashok.
Okay.
But
All
right
right.
now, I think we need to address what Shanmuga Priya has written here.
Okay. So Shamuga Priya, she has said that leadership plus a company's culture to put people first drives talent retention. Fantastic. This is what we have also picked up in the last four conversations with our speakers. It's not the responsibility of HR departments. That's what we got off also. But every division lead. I've seen a CTO who drives high performance, high engagement, and at very low turnover. Bingo, exactly like what you're talking about, Muller. Because as a leader, he had a good flair to make people feel valued. I worked with a CFO who used to send a supportive email as his personal message every Friday to his entire division throughout the lockdown. It is his way to show support and care to his employees. Thank you so very much,
I'm going to
Shama.
continue because you can't see it there. He said it was his way to show support and care to his employees and families.
Oh,
These
nice.
creates loyalty, trust, commitment amongst employees. Fantastic, Shanmugapriya. Thank you very much. I think you've made it very, very clear, right? So we're not against high performance. We're not against adding value, right?
Yep.
But whether engagement is driving high performance or other things are driving high performance, I think, because when people are engaged, they willingly give their time, their effort, their love, you know
That's right.
uh, yeah, and their talent away. It's a joy to give it away on one hand, but
Mm,
when people are not feeling engaged, or people have a need to disengage
mm, mm.
for whatever reason, we then need to now say, okay, why are you consciously disengaging? Why are you reprioritizing? Is there something that we can do to help you keep us as a priority,
Right.
right? Just like the flexible work hours, right? So it's not just working from home. Some people want to come to the office, but what they're looking at is, I want to be available for my family. It could be my children, it could be my old folks, it could be someone who's sick, it can be anything, right? And to be able to bring that up as a conversation and say, if we can do this for you, then
Mm.
will this work for you? And for that, you need, first and foremost, you need leaders who are observant, leaders who
Yes.
have built a rapport, leaders who have a relationship, and then to be able to ask the right question, listen, and then also empowered to work around the system
Okay.
that's flexible. Yeah.
Agreed. And since you spoke about a leader, right? There is one leader I totally admire.
Mm,
Yes, Sandeep, Corona was a trigger to quit, to quiet quitting. All right. And I think also, Sandeep, it has been a trigger to many other factors that is coming up, from well-being, people's, shaping their priorities, so on and so forth. And that's why I keep saying that we need to move away from the pre-COVID mentality and practices to look at post-COVID possibilities, you
mm.
know? Yeah. So yeah, you were talking about a leader who has to show up, to listen, to empathize, and all. And there's one leader that I've always admired. I mean, I've admired, and from 2014 actually is when I started admiring him, only because of his interviews, and I got, okay, this guy is different. I got to listen to him a bit deeper. Satya
Mm.
Nadella.
Ah,
Okay, Microsoft CEO. All right. So as you know, Microsoft, who has only had three CEOs, right? And Satya Nadella is the current one. He's the third CEO. Now, what is okay? Let's look at results. Let's look at it from a results point of view. Has he driven results? Absolutely. Because
mm,
before he came in, I think the market capitalization for Microsoft was about 330 billion or so. But today it stands at more than 1 trillion. Okay. So results, monetary, if you want to measure that, boom, he's done that. Okay. But
mm,
what I like about it is you've heard about this statement before, right? Uh, Culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? You've heard of that before. Okay. So if I look at what Satya Nadella did from a strategy point of view, he was very focused, right? He prioritized cloud services. Of course, he saw the trends in
mhm,
AI, big data, computing power, and all that. He focused on cloud services. And I think cloud services bring in more than 40% of their revenue now, right? So it's about prioritizing your strategies. But what did he focus from a culture point of view? He aligned everyone to a shared purpose. He focused on empathetic human conversation as a leadership skill. And he presses home the importance of the growth mindset and behaviors, right? And from a culture point of view, this is what he's banging on. In fact, he even said the CEO, the C in CEO is culture.
mhm,
He said that. Yeah, he said CEO, the C in the CEO is culture, right? So he focused on aligning everyone to shared purpose, focusing on empathetic human conversations for leaders, and the narratives that he's been banging home is about the growth mindset and behaviors. And and knowing what you and Sham do from the a flow profiler, I can see how the social, emotional intelligence, the motivation, resilience all fits into what he's talking about.
mm,
I can see that. Now, what is interesting was I think just after we finished Avinash's interview last week, Microsoft came out with a survey, right?
mm, mm,
I think they interviewed about 20,000 over employees in September 2020. Yeah, this month, 2022, over 11 different nations. And what was interesting was this, Malan? 87% of the employees said working from home increased productivity. 87 employees said working from home increased productivity. 80% of the supervisors did not agree. Ta-da. Okay. Now, anybody else would have just blamed everything. But then look at what Satya Nadella did.
mm.
He said, okay, there is a tension here. This tension needs to be handled. So he's not running away from it. He says, this needs to be handled. Because why? We are unlikely to revert to post COVID working practices. And something very interesting he said, right, which links to what you're talking about. He said, let's get past a productive paranoia. Now, honestly, I have no idea what that means. I can guess what it means, but maybe there could be a clue why we should maybe write to him and ask him to come to our show. Yeah, why not, right? And okay, but I think the most important thing he talked about is this, which you had said earlier. There's a real disconnect in terms of expectations and feelings. And I think he is really addressing the human values, what is important uh, as humans, as what we bring into the workplace. It's just not about the results, but it's important about understanding our expectations and our feelings. All right. And I think a lot of us can take the clue from what Satya Nadella is doing because it's also part of talent retention. And I think it can really link to what we're going to be talking about next month, talent development. Now, I just wanted to bring up the statistics because it kind of confirms exactly what you were talking about from the quiet quitting space, the productivity space that you spoke about, and the need for us to understand how we have been under stress, we have faced tensions, if we are still possibly facing tension, and how do we now elevate our performance and productive, not performance, right? To be better humans in that sense at a workplace. Yes, Muller, carry on. I spoke too much.
Nice. Now I have to fall in love again with Satya Nadella. I've not paid much attention to him, but a lot of the things that you're saying is I mean, it resonates with me, with us. I think
Mm.
you keep giving credit to me and Shamini. You are part of the team now because we share the same values, right? And the same aspiration. And I think he's absolutely right by. And what I really liked about what you shared about him is that beyond the results and all the things that he said is that I think it is really looking at the bridge, when he actually said, hey, employees are having this experience
Yes.
and managers are saying otherwise. So what is the missing link?
Link.
What is the missing link? What's the bridge we need
Mm.
for this two to be on the same side? Right?
Right.
And in organizations, we usually talk about feedback.
Mm.
I think it's more than feedback because obviously, we are operating from maybe different perceptions, different mindsets, different truths, right?
Okay.
And how do we now facilitate a conversation? And this is where onboarding becomes very important. So, can you
Mm.
imagine? This is a very good example of I think I'm more productive. My boss doesn't think I'm
Think
productive
I'm
enough.
productive.
How do I stay engaged? How do I trust my process? How do I not quit quietly? Because I'm showing you numbers, but I know my manager doesn't trust me,
Mm.
right? Just because he or she can't see me, or the manager's holding a different truth. A different truth could be, well, of course you're doing more, but that's because you're not doing this, this, and this, and those kind of movements that we hold. So I think that's what for me really is very powerful because in any conversation, we need to look at what data is showing. So you can't take just the data. We need to connect. How come? It's like when we shared. I think was it in retention? We talk about what employees say they want meaningful work.
Yep.
The top criteria for them to join an organization is the reward system.
Mm.
It doesn't match. We need a bridge. What do you actually really mean by rewards? And what do you really mean by meaning? Because we know these are two truths that needs to sort of come together, right? Yeah, and I think for that we need to have meaningful conversations. I just want to,
Yep.
before we leave, I want to share this. Right, there was one organization that we worked with, and they were very purpose driven, and the head of department is amazing. He knows every employee.
Nice.
Correct. He contacted us to do the flow profiler, right? And he said this, he said, my people are all join me because of purpose, but I'm having a problem because they seem to be very rewards driven and it doesn't make sense to me. And
Mm.
they love learning. They join this department because they love to learn. They're purpose driven and growth mindset. But
Mm.
now the behavior that's showing up is they are very rewards driven and they're not taking up growth opportunities. We did the
Okay.
flow profiler. The results showed up the same way the boss had anticipated. But he said, but these are not the people. I know them. I had worked with them, right? And so what happened, long story short, we had a conversation with the employees one on
Mm-hmm.
one to do the debrief. And we found out that in the last 3 months before we had met them, the organization had gone through a restructuring. And
Right.
and they had restructured and the headcounts were reduced so people couldn't do purposeful meaningful work anymore because they were doing all the other things.
Right.
A result, they couldn't live on purpose. There was no reason to grow because now I just got so many, I need to tick the list to do this.
Mm-hmm.
To,
Mm-hmm.
as a result, because I'm now struggling to come to work, wake up, and do all the things that I don't enjoy, I expect to be paid more as a compensation for my pain. Because when it was pleasure, I don't expect to be paid more.
Right.
Now, what was amazing about this leader, and I hope he comes, I think we might be interviewing him,
Nice.
what was amazing is this leader, he said, okay, we need to have a session. He took, and this was like such a transparent session where everybody could get feedback as to what has gone
Hmm.
wrong. And he
Hmm.
says, he put back the purpose of the department again. And he said, I know this is the reality. We don't have enough headcounts, but we need to get back on purpose. Tell me
Right.
how, tell me what I need to do. And this particular department is known to be, if not the one of the top performing department. And they don't negotiate with HR because they decide.
Nice.
So I just wanted to share that because
Nice.
sometimes it's the numbers tells us a story. What we're looking for is not the numbers to be punitive, but
Mm-mm.
really the story to actually for it to evolve. All right,
Okay. All
thank
right.
you, Ashok, for
Yes, we have
explaining
gone
that.
1 minute past. We'd like to thank all our supporters, viewers who are who will be listening in to us in our podcast and all. So, yes, September was all about talent retention. We have heard from great four leaders. And October, we're going to be linking it to development, right?
Exactly.
And I think somewhere down the road, we will have quiet quitting. Definitely,
Exactly.
we
I
must.
think we can't run from quiet quitting
We
for a
must
while
not. We must not.
until I find my answers. So for those who've joined us, Shanmugapriya, Sandeep, let me see, Luis
Louise,
Marias, thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving us your opinion and sharing your thoughts and feelings with us. And for those who are quietly listening at the background, thank you for joining us. I hope it was useful. So do join us, subscribe to our YouTube, or you can listen in on Spotify. It'll be very helpful if you shared this, if you found the content. So with that, next week we will start off the month of October with a new theme, talent development. And we have, I would say, amazing speakers lined up to talk about talent development. And next week we get to see Ashok again. So Ashok, thank you very much for your contribution.
thank you.
Lovely summary, new inputs, and great stories. With that, this is Malar signing off from Kuala Lumpur,
And this is
Malaysia.
Ashok from Singapore. Thank
All
you.
right. Take care. And till we
Bye
see
bye.
you next week again.